You guys, Kristyn is not only somebody that I love and adore in a professional way, but personally as well. She's just a really, really amazing person. She's done amazing things that I'm lucky enough to have been a part of. And y'all are in for a really, 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 really special treat with her. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, thanks, Brittany. Thank you.
You're welcome. I mean it. Okay, so let's just get started. Let's just get going. So I know I told you guys that she's a business strategist and the founder of Creative as a Mother and all these things, but I want her to tell you in her way about your professional journey, Kristyn. So like, I know you've told me before you were a successful hairstylist, you had your own business, but then you transitioned to maker, and you're making also, FYI everyone, really amazing products. So that was successful, huge, which I have one of, which we'll talk about that later. and then also transitioning or adding on, I guess, coach and business strategist. You've got so much amazing stuff to share. So could you just tell us that journey of your professional life and how it went the way it did?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was going to college to become a nurse, and I was like, this was not my thing. I came home, I told my parents, like, I'm sorry, I love you, but I just can't do it. It was more I felt like something that they wanted me to do, sort of thing. Not necessarily nursing, but just college. And I was very much more like the creative, like free spirit, so I started going to hair school, and, I became a hairdresser, and I was a hairdresser for almost 18 years. And I quit to raise my kids. And I had a very successful career. I was making like 6 figures a year. And I wanted it to be more simple. I had my clients I'm still in contact with through social media. That's like the best part of social media. Yes. But I just was tired of working so hard all the time. It was a lot, and I didn't want to do it anymore. So my husband and I decided to move from South Florida because it was very expensive to live there. And part of the reason why we had to work so hard was, cost of living. So we moved to the Atlanta area. And so Sadie at the time was 2 when we moved here. And I got bored really fast, like within weeks. I'm like, I need to do something. And I felt bad about it, but I didn't, because at the time it was kind of like, I knew I needed an outlet. Like, it couldn't just be me in this big house, which at the time we were renting this huge house that was like not necessary, and we were like, it was just me and her all day. And I was like, so I started, making pillows to basically sell to my ex-clients, like, really is what I was thinking. Like, this is still a way for me to kind of keep the momentum going with my people, because, these ladies, I mean, they were like family to me for almost 20 years. And a lot of them I had been doing for that long, that amount of time. They came to my house, they were there for my wedding and the birth of my kids, and I was there for all of that stuff for them. So that's kind of how my maker business came about.
Wait, and then it's a question about sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but did you like already know how to do crafty things, or were you just like, let me just figure out how to make pillows?
Well, I guess that's funny. I didn't even think to kind of explain that. Yeah, I guess I've always been crafty. I've always been creative. I love planning parties. I've always been very makery. My husband and I are DIYers pretty much since like day one. We've bought houses and flipped them and rented them out. So we've always kind of dabbled in that sort of thing. Now, as far as like making pillows was extremely random. Like, I hadn't picked up a sewing machine since I was in like 8th grade home ec class. So I literally was just like, but it was more about the cute sayings I was putting on them at the time. Not really, like, I didn't think about the whole pillow part. So that was like process of elimination over time. But yeah, and then I just ended up Instagram. That was how I kind of got introduced to Instagram, was selling my products to my people, my friends, my family members already, and connecting with them on Instagram. And then it just kind of like grew from there. I met all these amazing women, and it just snowballed and opened up this whole entire world that I had absolutely zero idea in 2015 when I started my maker business, that I didn't even know was out there. And it's just, it's changed everything for my life, my family's life, it's been great.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. And I love that you were like, I'm just going to figure out how to use a sewing machine again. And I'm just going to do something. And you just kind of solved your issue, because it's hard. Like you said, being there with the baby, it's odd. Only if you have ever done that before,
Yes.
would
Yeah.
you quite understand that feeling.
Totally, 100%. Because and I just needed. I was so used to making my own money. I mean, when I was 13 years old, I was the young girl that was walking around the neighborhood like, "Can I wash your car for $5?" Like, that was me. I was babysitting. I just was always doing something to, like, when I was younger, I wanted my own phone line because my brother was annoying. So that was a drive for me. And then I wanted a car, and then I wanted, you know what I mean? So it was just kind of like always what I had, like my drive. And then I felt like I was like, okay, I just want to be a mom. And then I was like, well, I mean, it was a great and amazing, but I definitely needed that part of me to be fulfilled, and it wasn't happening. So starting selling something online was a way for me to kind of have the best of both worlds, because it was just like a side hustle, and I could still spend the time with my kids or daughter at the time. And then, now it's a full-time job. So,
Right.
but it's in a great way, not in the hairdressing slaving way. In the, like, I love it, and I'm home, and I could still connect with my family,
Right.
so it's good.
So, okay. So fast forward a little. So you get into making more products. Definitely the doormats are a specialty.
Yes.
Amazing. I have one. I'll post when this episode comes out, I'll post a picture of it again for everybody to see. It's the cutest doormat ever. But so kind of fast forward. So you're selling more products, or you're making more products, selling more products, becoming more and more successful. And then correct me if I'm wrong, you started to realize, like, the whole, I guess do you call it what, a live online market, where you started realizing you could not have to go to a market in person necessarily as a maker, but you could do it online, right?
Yes, exactly. Well, I think the Instagram live market was my, like, taste of seeing that, because that was the first time I had ever gone live. Brittany was doing that. I never showed my face really on social media before. I did a little bit for my brand, but that wasn't what it was about. It was more about my products. So then once I started putting my face out there and realizing that people were responding on such a deeper level to, like, the other side of my life, which was parenthood and motherhood, and doing all of those things, and then introducing, like, my products into that, like, kind of making it all one thing, that was when I really started connecting with my audience. And I had a lot of makers reach out to me asking, like, how I was able to do it. So that's kind of where the first online course came along. And it was great. It was a great success. And I loved teaching the women to step outside of their comfort zone, because I noticed that that's what the majority of, that's what was holding most of them back, was their fear of, and that's how it was for me as well. That's why I didn't really show my face or that side of my life before that. So when I did my live market, I feel like that was kind of the icebreaker for me to be like, okay, I really am enjoying, like, helping these women get through some things that they don't even realize is holding them back. And I think that's how kind of the start of my coaching came about, was because of that course, and because I, put myself out there to do that live market for the first time, and being so successful with it.
Well, and that's amazing, because it also just sounds so organic, like this led to this and this led to this, and it feels natural and right? I mean, that's what I always get from you.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm like, my husband calls me, I'm the most random person you'll ever meet, but it's not really.
Right.
And that's what I tell them. I'm like, you just can't hear and feel what's inside that I know. Like, so I'll just be like, I'll wake up one day and be like, we have to do this. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, you're freaking crazy. I'm like, no, we're getting in the car today and we're going to hike this mountain, or whatever the day brings us. That just came out. But and that's even how Creative as a Mother started. I legit woke up one morning and said, I'm starting a Facebook group. And it was because I just had met so many amazing women that were all doing the same thing. And we were connecting on so many different levels. And I was introducing, one person to another person, and then they were building a deeper relationship, on the side with them, business relationship. And it just was like this really cool like thing that just blossomed. And it was just for me hearing myself saying like, you need to do this. And I was like, well, okay, let's do it.
All right. Okay. So we'll go back a little to explain to the audience, like, so you're doing well with your maker business. And you're starting to, you did your live, the Instagram live market is, can you just like really, really brief, because I feel like that could be helpful as well. I want to talk about the Facebook group, but, what that even means, just in case there's a maker out there who's never, ever heard of this.
Oh yeah. The, Instagram live market course basically teaches handmade sellers how you can sell your products using Instagram live and, not having the hassle of a craft show. So you can basically set up the craft show in your home and sell to all of your followers who are already, into what you're selling, instead of doing craft shows. It helps with that, because doing craft shows, there's A, so much work, B, so much overhead, and C, you never know if your ideal customer is going to be there or not. So Instagram is a great way to do that. And I was very successful when I was doing my live markets. I was shocked successful. I have clients, customers that have purchased the course that have made $2,000 in 45 minutes selling their handmade goods on Instagram. Isn't that insane?
That is amazing.
I mean, and you don't have to pay for a booth. You don't have to set up any of that stuff. You just have to make sure that you market it the proper way and get everyone excited about it and have people show up, and then that's it.
It's so smart. And it's especially smart of you to then go out and teach it. That's a whole other story we won't get into, but it's just, it's true. I mean, you discovered something that works so well, and then you shared the knowledge, and now you're able to positively affect obviously so many people with that course, but also with the group. So I really, really, really want to talk about the group, because it's actually special to me personally. So Creative as a Mother is a Facebook group that Kristyn started. I want you did say you just kind of woke up one day and really felt the urge to do it. Is that pretty much that? Like, did go back and kind of explain again, like maybe what inspired you to start this group in the first place?
Yeah. So I joined the Follower to Fan Society. I feel like that was kind of the beginning of when I started to realize bringing the group of people together that I had connected with. And Tyler is huge on teaching, he teaches Instagram, but he's huge on teaching just authenticity with yourself within Instagram. I made amazing connections through the Follower to Fan Society. And I think that opened up a lot of doors for me, in the sense of like, wow, there are people out there that we can, make waves together. And I just woke up one day and said, I want to bring everyone together. And I did. And I just DM'd everybody that I knew, like that I was connecting with, that I felt wanted to be in that group. I don't want to say I am picky or was picky, but I am very particular in who I speak to, because you either like me or you don't like me. And I don't mean that in but I mean, I swear a lot. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Sometimes I'm raunchy, and sometimes I say that my kids are assholes. And sometimes,
and these are the reasons why I love you.
Yeah. And this is also the reason why my mom called me one day and said, Kristyn, I really think you should tone down the language. And I said, this was like when I first started really putting myself out there. I said, I'm dropping the F-bomb all the time. And